All right. Welcome to United Astronomy Clubs of New Jersey. We're back at it again, the first Saturday of the month, uh, with our online only winter program. Just a reminder for everyone tuning in, do hit that like and subscribe down below because it does let us know that we're doing a good job. Uh, with that, you can also check us out on our website, uacnj.org. That's where you're going to find a list of all our member clubs, any current activities or talks that are coming up, as well as all about our organization. On there, you are going to also find information on how to donate because we are a nonprofit and everything that you guys have done has helped us keep our lights on and the free public programs coming. You can also check us out on our socials: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Discord, and don't forget, we stream on both YouTube and Twitch, and we keep all our past programs on YouTube so that you can always go back in case you happen to miss a section or find something that's really interesting you want to go back and ask questions on, and hit, you know, send those in on there. And usually I do try and keep track and answer those questions as I see them. Uh, with that being said, we're going to get right into tonight's program, which is What's Up in the December Sky with Lonny Buinis. Lonnie has been presenting What's Up in the Sky at UACNJ since it opened in 1994. He's been an amateur astronomer since age 10 and still has his first telescope. He holds 2 degrees from Stevens Institute of Technology in physics and computer science, but thinks practical experience doing space art, space animation, and virtual reality objects is more important. Lonnie has written an interactive astronomical history book, Space History Mysteries Solved, with more interactive objects on the way every day. There are he has in that book he has 2 movies narrated by Jan Bunis, his wife, and the smartest thing he ever did was to marry his narrator. She keeps his feet on the ground while his head is in the sky, and with that, let's welcome Lonnie.
Thanks for the intro, Kim. These programs wouldn't be possible to do without the diligent work of all the amateur astronomers behind the scenes, Chris and Jeff, Kim, and many others. So we urge you to come visit sometime. But right now, we're going to be looking at what's up in the December sky, as we do every month. We change the name to What's Up in the Fill in the Blank Sky. And you're looking at some of the things we're going to be seeing in the December sky. If you look straight up, 8 o'clock at night, just as it says on the bottom. This is a screen capture from a free program that you can use yourselves called Stellarium. This is 8 o'clock at night at the middle of December, and you would see 2 bright planets, including the biggest one in the solar system on the right, the desert world on the left. And if you have a powerful telescope and know where to look, you could find the planet Uranus, the green planet. You would find a little dipper-shaped group of stars coming up in the early winter, a bright double cluster of stars, and a big square that helps you find the most distant thing in the universe that the naked eye can see. So let's talk about all these things right now. When you come to visit, we will show you this a bit of information about practical information, visiting. We have a gift shop. Our donations are welcome because everything's run by volunteer help, as Kim has said. And so we will show you that when you come to visit between April and October when it's not so cold up at Jenny Jump. I like to get my information from things that are easy to remember. Go-astronomy.com, for instance, or things like space.com. Couldn't be easier. If you go to Go-astronomy and click on their events and then their event calendar, you'll see a list of everything happening for the whole year, but I'm focusing just on this month. This month we have, as with most months, 2 important phases of the moon, full and new. The best time to see faint objects is at the end of the month when the moon is new. The worst is very soon, December 8th, the full moon. We have 2 bright planets to look for. The closest planet to the sun is furthest away on the longest day of the year. and a good time to see it in the evening sky. We have a comet and its closest distance to the sun and Earth. And so let's take a look at these things one by one. I like to go to moongiant.com and find all the cool, nifty information about the current phase, when the next full moon is coming, if for you to get ready for werewolves. They don't talk about werewolves at moongiant.com. They talk about science. But hey, it's good to know. And you can even label the main phases of the moon, as I have, with some options. You can do a lot of controls at the site. We've got on the 8th, the full moon, of course, is the worst time to see faint objects in the sky, like star clusters and nebulae, plural for nebula, which is a gas cloud in space. And then we have the new moon on the 23rd, the best time to see faint objects, because the moon is close to the sun. Where? Is it really close to the sun? It looks like it in the sky, but it's actually the sun is 400 times further away. Why do they look the same size, the same angle in the sky, about a half degree? Well, the moon is 400 times smaller than the sun, even while it's 400 times closer to us. So they come out about the same. Why is this last quarter moon on the 16th in a couple weeks? Why isn't it called the last half moon? Let's think about that. If you want to respond in chat, you're welcome. We'll completely ignore anything you write in chat. No, I'm kidding. You don't have to believe everything I say. I am an amateur astronomer, right? Which means that unlike professional astronomers, I know something about observing things in the sky, while professionals know the nitty-gritty details of the mathematics, and just they're a tiny little specialty generally. If you want to learn a lot about astronomy, come visit UACNG observatories. Ask the amateur astronomers a lot of questions. They love it when you ask questions and when you kick their tripod by accident. Actually, don't do that. That will make an astronomer cry. If you want to see an astronomer cry, then please do not kick the tripod or the mount. They spent a lot of time aligning the telescope to the heavens. So that last quarter moon is just the half of the side of the moon we can see, right? So a half of a half is a quarter. The moon has names. The full moon has names for each month. The new moon also, I discovered that recently. But I like these poetic lunar full moon names. For December, the wolf moon or wolves moon makes sense. The long night's moon, you can tell why that's accurate, because in December we have the longest nights. The Earth is tipped away from the sun in the northern hemisphere. The light comes in at a raking angle. The sun is low in the sky. The nights are long. The days are full of rays of sunlight that are spread out over the ground, and it's cold. Hence, the cold moon from the Farmer's Almanac. Farmer's Almanac names are generally more informal, but from a long time ago, we've got the wolves moon and the big moon for December. So once again, December 8th and 23rd. What about meteor showers? Two. We've got two this month. One of them, the Geminids, is one of the best of the two good meteor showers. The two best meteor showers of the year in New Jersey are the Perseids, which we talk about in August, and the Geminids in mid-December. The Geminids meteor shower peaks this year. If you can stay up late on the 13th into midnight into the 14th, that's the best time when you're looking down the shadow of the Earth into space. The same shadow that the moon passes into once in a while, like last month, causing an eclipse of the moon by the Earth, right? So if you were on the moon, you would see the Earth covering the sun. That's a lunar eclipse. We see the moon enter the shadow, change color. This year, this month, the moon misses the shadow because the moon's orbit is not lined up with the Earth's orbit. It's a little bit tipped. If you miss it on the peak, don't worry. You can try the nights following or the nights before, any nights that are clear. It's just that things get better when we're in the thickest part of a stream caused by not a comet, but an asteroid, 3200 Phaethon or Phaeton. This is one of two meteor showers, the quadrantids and the geminids, that come from not a comet, but debris left from an asteroid. It used to be thought that Phaeton was a comet. No longer. We now recognize what it is. Unusual. This shower can peak at up to 120 meters an hour, which means a couple of bright ones every so often, every few minutes. But if you live in an area like I do in the suburbs with all the street lights, you might be lucky to see one bright meteor or a few during the hour. But don't let that discourage you. Go out and try to find them, because this shower has very fast moving meteors, right? And what's a meteor? Well, generally it starts as a meteoroid in space, a miniature asteroid. Most of them are the size of no, no, no. Very common size, about a sand grain. When those burn up in the atmosphere, they're a meteor. When they land, if they're big enough, they're a meteorite. And if a meteor is big enough, bright enough, that could be a fireball. And if it explodes, it's a bolide. Go look up all those terms now that I've confused you. We're just going to focus on meteors, little pieces of sand burning up in the atmosphere, sand sized. And the gibbous moon is going to be interfering this year. Don't let that discourage you. You got to try. Just keep trying. The way to learn about the sky is to go out, do what I did when I was a kid, go out with a star chart and look. Use your eyes. It's fun. Here's an actual shot of a Geminid from years ago, coming out from the radiant point in Gemini. What's a radiant? Well, all meteor showers seem to come from a point, even though they're debris traveling in a parallel stream that we pass through, a stream left as the comet or asteroid orbited the sun. So as we go through that stream, why don't we see parallel? Well, we do see parallel lines. Parallel lines, as an optical illusion, seem to meet in the distance, right? So if you ever look at railroad tracks or those annoyingly narrow painted division lines on the Garden State Parkway in New Jersey, very narrow. I think they do it on purpose so they can squeeze 100 lanes across. Are they adding more? Maybe, who knows? Yeah, that's the radiant point, the point in the illusion where it seems to be coming out from in the sky. And the Geminids seem to come from the constellation Gemini, a sign of the zodiac. That's an actual radar picture of 3200 Phaeton, the asteroid. The minor shower, only about 10 an hour. You might not see any if you live in a populous area with the light pollution. The Ursids, from Ursa Minor. If you break up those words, Ursa, bear, minor, little, you might recognize the Little Dipper, also the little bear. And these meteors will seem to stream from one of the brightest stars in the Little Dipper. Average speeds, not as fast as the Geminids, so you might actually see a trail for one of the bigger pieces of debris. These come from a comet, Comet Tuttle. What three sophisticated pieces of equipment do you need to enjoy a meteor shower? I'll give you a moment to think about that. Well, it can be very expensive, right? You're going to need some optical equipment. You're going to need a nice, comfortable place to view from, and you might need some heat to keep warm. But fear not, it doesn't cost thousands of dollars to watch a meteor shower. You need the naked eye. You need something to sit in that's comfortable. And in the winter, you might want to bundle up, because what you want to do is use as big an angle as you can see of the whole sky. And for that, the human eye is perfect. We get a nice wide field of view, 160 up to 180 degrees. Just look straight up, catch the meteors as they stream out of Gemini in all directions across the sky. This is a wonderful show of celestial fireworks. Don't miss it. And it does help to go to a dark site like UACNJ. 2 meteor showers, 2 moon phases, 2 bright planets, and a comet. Comet 81P Wild, otherwise known as Wild 2. and it's closest to Earth in the middle of the month. And these are actual photographs made by a space probe that visited the comet. The comet also passed very close to the planet Jupiter way back in 1974, before any of you in the audience were alive. I was alive back then because I am, as my wife likes to say, old. I don't feel old, but that's what she says. So I guess I must be old because remember, gentlemen who are married, wives are always right. So this comet passed very close to Jupiter. Jupiter has powerful gravity. It hurled the comet into a new orbit, shorter, from 43 years down to 6, from 5 times the Earth-Sun distance to 1.6 astronomical units. That's like a yardstick that astronomers love to use, except this yardstick is 93 million miles long. And you can see miles kind of become meaningless after only a few thousand. The Earth is less than 8,000 miles across, so millions of miles makes no sense to the human brain. So astronomers conveniently called that the astronomical unit. And now this comet comes pretty close to us at 1.6. We are at what distance from the sun in AU? Anyone? 1. So now that we've got a little preview, why don't we take a look and see what's up in the sky by using a simulation program called Stellarium. And I've got so many windows open that it takes me a moment to find it. The first thing you might want to do before the sun sets, or as the sun is setting and the sky is getting dark, look for the planet Mercury. It's not going to look like this. This would be a very advanced telescopic view, actually an impossible view. No telescope on Earth sees Mercury as clearly as this in its gibbous phase on the 21st of this month, the solstice, the shortest day of the year in New Jersey. Why don't we see it like this? Well, because the Earth's atmosphere interferes. You cannot see, even with the world's most powerful telescopes, you're not going to see Mercury much better than you would in a small telescope. And look how far I have to zoom out before I can see the trees at the United Astronomy Clubs of New Jersey. Mercury is setting in the trees facing the southwest. And I can set the time and the direction as to anything I want in Stellarium. Planet Venus already set. But this is the time when Mercury is elongated away from the sun. They call it the elongation, greatest eastern elongation. Which way is east? Well, if you're facing south at Jenny Jump, where the racetrack is down there before the mountains, east is going to be on your left. So when you're at UACNJ, otherwise known as Jenny Jump, you look for the observatories in the letter E, right? I remember I warned you, don't believe everything I say. I am an amateur astronomer and I lie a lot. So actually, instead of starting here in the south or west, I'm going to go all the way past the main building where we do our presentations live April to October. And I'm going to face north. And I'm going to speed through time because I can do that in Stellarium to 16 hours minus 12 equals, anyone? Mathematicians in the audience? You know, why? Why do they say do the math when it's just arithmetic? This annoys my friend Eric to no end. Everybody says, do the math. Usually the math is 2 minus 1 or something like that. So 16 minus 12 is 4 p.m., 5 p.m., 6 p.m. It gets pretty dark early in early winter, doesn't it? And if I'm looking towards the north at Jenny Jump, I'm not going to see labels for the names of things. I'm not going to see pictures or outlines, am I? No. But we're going to cheat. We're going to leave the outlines that you would see on a star chart of the kind that we happen to sell in the gift shop at Jenny Jump. Shameless self-promotion, sorry. Had to do it. So I know most of us are still awake at 6:15. I could do it 7. How about 8 o'clock? Everybody still awake at 8 o'clock? See how the sky changes as the time changes? If I pick the same time every night, I would notice the sky changing from day to day, from month to month. That's why we do What's Up in the Sky every month. There's always something different to see. But we're going to start by getting familiar with the northern constellations, star patterns officially recognized by the International Astronomical Union way back in 1930. That was before even I was born, in the time of the dinosaurs. The Little Dipper we saw before, but how would you find the Little Dipper? Well, you could find the Big Dipper, which is buried in the trees here at Jenny Jump. So why don't I turn off the land like this? And now we can see the Big Dipper just above the horizon. If there were no trees, you might see the whole thing. 7 bright stars. If you have sharp eyesight, you might see the 8th, Mizar and Alcor, famous visual double. You could take the distance between the 2 bright stars and the end of the Big Dipper, Merak and Dubhe, also known as Alpha and Beta in Ursa Major. Uma. Yes, this constellation was named for actress Uma Thurman, right? No, no, it's Ursa Major. Astronomers like to abbreviate everything, so they've got 3-letter abbreviations for every one of the constellations, which number the same as the number of keys on a piano for you piano players in the audience who, instead of studying your lessons, were counting the keys. So I'll let you think about that. If you hold your fist out at arm's length, generally, no matter how short or tall you are, generally that's about 5 degrees of angle in the sky. The whole sky 360, your fist about 5, go that distance apart 5 degrees about 5 times, and you'll come to the North Star, Polaris. Alpha Ursa Minor, Umi. Well, we don't call it Umi, but I do. Good way to find your way around the sky is this technique that we amateur astronomers invented centuries ago. It's called star hopping. See that? Good way to find the North Star. If you can find the North Star, you'll always find north because the North Pole of the Earth points out in space very close to the North Star. Is there a South Star for South America, South Africa, Australia, Antarctica? Nope. In your face, Southern Hemisphere. Well, that's not fair. I mean, the Southern Hemisphere does have a Southern Cross that points to about where the South Pole points on Earth. But we have a nice bright star, well, semi-bright star. You can, even in light polluted areas, you can see Polaris and these 2 stars in the Little Dipper. If I zoom out a bit, I can get to see more constellations, as you would on a star map, which distorts the star patterns. Right? In the real sky, these things have a big angle. 5 degrees is a lot of angle. I mean, we can see the full moon a half degree. That's 10 full moons between these 2 stars. So in the sky, when you're looking at the Big Dipper, it feels more like this. But in Stellarium, in order to see more, I have to zoom out and change my angle, which is shown as a field of view down here. There's a dragon between the dippers. There is a house and a letter M. The king and queen, Cassiopeia, Cepheus. Yeah, well, without the pictures, it's a little hard, isn't it? Cassiopeia is relatively easy to recognize. Sometimes he looks like a letter W, sometimes like a letter M. If you went to visit the nearest star to the sun, Alpha Centauri, brightest star in the Centaur, which we can't see from New Jersey, there would be a 6th bright star in this constellation, and that would be Sol, S-O-L, which is, anyone? Sun, our star, would look like a bright yellow star in Cassiopeia. So these 5 constellations rotate or revolve around, orbit around the North Star. They never rise or set as seen from New Jersey. They are called circumpolar, going around the pole. And if I were to speed up time, you could actually watch that happen. I can do that in Stellarium. I can go in real time. I can go faster and faster. I can look at the sky later and later. But you'll always see the North Star above the horizon, about 40, 41 degrees in New Jersey. I can stop time. I can change time. Now we're looking at on the 21st of the month. I'm going to go back for the rest of my talk to the middle of the month at a comfortable hour when we're all still awake, about 8 o'clock at night. There you go. And notice the time is ticking down. We're seeing the sky change in real time. If we zoomed in with a telescope, we could actually watch the stars drift out of our field of view. Let's say we went towards the west and we looked for the most distant thing in the universe that the naked eye can see. It's next to a great square in the sky. Can you find it? It's huge. You'll never guess what astronomers call it. Good, I'll take a break. You guess. Go ahead. Yep, you're right. The Great Square. Follow the Great Square up 2 stars and over a couple of fainter stars. If you're lucky in dark skies, you might see a little letter Y here. Between the spokes of the Y is this object, which I'm not going to put a clock on. I'm going to let the sky drift. If I zoom in to the Andromeda Galaxy, we will see it slowly drift out of the field of view. I can center it so that Stellarium follows it, or I can uncenter it, and it will slowly move out of our field of view. This is the way our Milky Way galaxy looks also from deep in space, from the Andromeda Galaxy. We are a barred spiral. We have dust, just like Andromeda, dark lanes of dust, hiding starlight behind it. We have blue young stars glowing hot and bright and blue, reflecting their light off of gas, just like Andromeda. Just like Andromeda, we have a couple of small satellite galaxies that we can see from Earth. If you go to the southern hemisphere, to Australia, South Africa, South America, the Magellanic Clouds, the Clouds of Magellan, miniature galaxies that passed through the bigger galaxy millions of years ago. You can see this object from Jenny Jump, from UACNJ with the naked eye. Very exciting. In this vicinity, there are other such objects, other galaxies, spirals, different shapes. We call them deep sky objects. They're deep in the sky, far away from the stars that we see. For all the stars we see in the sky are part of our own Milky Way, a collection of 1 trillion. That's a 1 followed by 12 zeros. That's 1,000 billion stars. That's a million. I can say it many different ways. But from a dark sky, such as you would see from UACNJ, you would find the Milky Way rising from horizon, or crossing the whole sky over towards, am I making everybody dizzy? Yes, I am, sorry. I'll slow down. Over toward the east, going through the constellations of winter. So let's settle down here as we see the stars of fall disappearing, the great square of Pegasus. The summer triangle of bright stars is just about disappeared. Vega and Deneb, which I talked about in past months. Nebulae, gas clouds. There are more coming up in the winter sky. One of the brightest objects is not a star at all. It's the planet Jupiter. You can't miss it if you're facing south. You can find it among the stars of Pisces, the fishes. And Jupiter is nowhere near these stars. The light from Jupiter that we're seeing left, let's see, Jupiter's distance 5 AU minus Earth when they're close on the same side of the sun in opposition. 5 minus 1 equals how many AU? 4 multiplied by 100 million per AU, about 400 million miles away. And look how far I have to zoom in so that my field of view shrinks to 22 degrees, to 13, to 1 degree, the way we would see it in a small telescope. Closer yet, what are these four bright stars following Jupiter, which appears as a tiny disk with bands, the way Galileo saw it 412 years ago in his crude telescope, like beads on a wire, back and forth, orbiting Jupiter, an independent system, just like our solar system, revolving around Jupiter. These are the four biggest of Jupiter's 80 moons, giant moons. One of them, the biggest in the solar system, Ganymede, has a cracked icy surface, and underneath, water. Is there life there? And perhaps an even more viable candidate for that is the smallest but brightest of the four. How can the smallest be the brightest? Oh, I'm sorry, looking at the wrong one. That's Io. This is my favorite moon. Moon featured in 2061, a novel by Arthur C. Clarke, Europa. And we think that there is an ocean, a warm ocean under there. And we know there's organic matter under there. Is there advanced life? Not just primitive life like microbes, but could there be tube worms and shrimp, such as we have in the bottom of our oceans, living off hypothermal vents? Do these such vents exist underneath in the surface of Europa, buried miles down beneath the ice? We may find out within our lifetimes when NASA sends a space probe. And uh-oh, just lost, okay, I just lost my control. So when you come to visit and we show you Jupiter in a telescope, if we don't have our clock on, it's going to drift out of the telescope like this. Clock drive. There we go. Jupiter as it would appear to the Hubble Space Telescope. What's that shadow? Io casting a shadow. The moons, as they cross in front and behind Jupiter, in front they cast a shadow, behind they get eclipsed or occulted. These are wonderful phenomena to watch, and the amateur astronomers at UAC&J can help you do just that. They can help you find planets, although they're relatively easy right now. The two bright planets outshine a lot of the stars, and they move through the stars. To the left or east of Pisces the fishes, we've got some winter constellations, the sign of the zodiac, an animal with great horns, an angry red eye, Aldebaran, Alpha Tauri or Tauri, Taurus the bull, sign of the zodiac. Next to Auriga the chariot rider holding the baby goats. Without the picture, it looks just like a chariot rider holding baby goats. Yes? Don't believe everything I say. The rival, one of the rivals of the red star, Taurus, Alpha Tauri, Aldebaran, does not twinkle like Aldebaran. And that's a planet. The word planetides, Greek for wanderer, where we get our word planet, describes Mars well, the red planet. Does have an orangey kind of look to it in the sky. In small telescopes, you can see dark markings and a bright icy polar cap sometimes. You will not see the two moons of Mars in our telescopes. They are too faint and small. Mars is fun to watch because features there change. Mars has weather, much as does Earth. It's a cold, dry planet. We can help you find objects like this if you come to visit. What else is there in the sky? Well, if you want to find these winter constellations, good time to do it, even as early as 8 o'clock at night, is to find the main sign of winter, Orion, the hunter. Dramatic. These are some of the brightest stars in the sky. Far away, this one, 498 light years away. This one, 800, almost 2,000 light years away. And look how bright they are. Amazing. Betelgeuse and Rigel in the trees. reddish and bluish. You can actually see star colors really well in winter, if your eyes aren't watering because of the cold winter wind, that is. And that means our eyes are like spectroscopes. We can see star temperatures. Cool stars are red, hot stars are blue, stars like the sun, yellowish in color, looking a lot like Castor or Pollux. There's a color difference between Castor and bluish and Pollux yellowish. And that's what our sun would look like from deep in space. Our sun's average temperature in between. If you follow Orion's belt of three bright stars up in a straight line, you'll come to two star clusters. The old Hyades star cluster is the face of the bull. And then much younger, the Seven Sisters, which many people think is a dipper. And they often mistake it for the Little Dipper. It's much smaller in angle. And in binoculars, you can find many more than seven sisters. There are dozens. In powerful telescopes with long exposure photographs, you can see the dust and gas from which these stars were born, a dark lane of dust hiding some of the bright blue starlight from these young stars burning their fuel very quickly. One of these stars, Pleione, spins so fast that it's shaped like an egg, pulled out of shape by spinning by centripetal acceleration, otherwise known as centrifugal force. If you find the book Beyond the Solar System by Chesley Bonestell and Wiley Ley, Chesley Bonestell was the first to paint a picture of what it would look like to see Pleione from one of its planets, if it has any planets. So that is star hopping. The belt of Orion points to Taurus and the Pleiades. If you go down in the opposite direction, it will bring you to the dog star, which is not yet risen. But you can look above Orion, or above if you pretend this is his head, and over to the east to find the twins, another sign of the zodiac. Why are the zodiac signs so important? Well, we can turn on the ecliptic to find the path of the sun through the sky. The ancients noted this path and they remembered where the sun would be if they could see it in the night sky. They identified 12 important constellations that the sun and moon and planets passed through. Because we now know that the solar system, except for Mercury and Pluto and a bunch of comets and a whole bunch of Kuiper belt objects and other small bodies, is fairly flat. The major planets all follow a plane. And that plane can be found usually close to the ecliptic, the path of the sun. And notice how it passes through Aquarius and Pisces. Aries, the ram, looks just like a ram, right? I'm shaking my head no for those of you who weren't watching. Taurus, the bull, Gemini, the twins. The ecliptic. Will you see this in the real sky? No. Will you see the letters for directions? No. Right? So we can make the sky look as realistic or as unrealistic as we like. We can brighten things. We can make the Milky Way brighter and dimmer. We can add light pollution. We can simulate meteors and comets. We could speed up time. I did that before. Let's do it in stages and see what happens later in the month. December 12th, December 12, date 15th, 16, 17, 18, 19. See that? You look every night at the same time, 8:13 at night, almost 8:14, the sky's going to jump and shift. And what's that? What's that bright object passing through the sky, interfering with our view? It's the moon. I went into January. Let's go back. I said toward the end of the month, the moon's going to be new. And here it is at last quarter, a thick crescent, almost last quarter phase. Right? Quarter phases, first quarter. That's when the moon is heading towards, wait a second, what am I talking about? That's right. Last quarter moon, the moon's going to disappear as it goes towards noon. Last quarter moon, you see that late if you stay up late enough. And it's interfering with our skies. So it's not a great time, especially full, to see faint objects in the sky. But come anyway, come to Jenny Jump when we're open April through October, Saturday nights, or come and visit any Saturday night, our talks, virtual talks, including mine, What's Up in the Sky. I'm going to pause here and see if we have any questions. I've missed a few things. For instance, the hero who rescues Andromeda, the princess, chained to the rocks by the gods, the cruel god Hera, who is jealous of Andromeda's beauty. Perseus comes along with the head of Medusa to rescue the princess. Very chauvinistic. We can't allow that anymore. Greek legends are sexist, racist. But what can you do? They've been in the library for 3,000 years. If you haven't read the story of Perseus and Andromeda, you have no excuse. Or you could see one of the two movies, Clash of the Titans, that tell that story. Anybody guess what this little triangle-shaped group of stars is supposed to be? Go ahead. Take a wild guess. You won't be penalized. I won't single you out. I won't embarrass you. So there's Perseus, double cluster in Perseus, beautiful open cluster of stars. It's actually two of them close by. You can see them in a pair of binoculars very easily. For those of you who do have telescopes or binoculars you want to observe, actually, you don't even need that. With the naked eye, you can watch this binary star eclipse, dim and brighten every few days. It's an eclipsing binary. One star passes in front of another, and the light dims from the brighter star. You can actually watch that. That was the first discovered eclipsing binary star. As I've been zooming in and out, you've probably noticed nebulae, faint objects in the sky. There are so many, but if you forget all of what I've said tonight, you're going to want to look in Orion the Hunter. Down below, in his sword hanging below the belt, you will notice a fuzzy object, very evident in binoculars. Even a small telescope will start to show some detail. And in very large telescopes, you won't see this beautiful color because the human eye is not sensitive to color at low light levels, but you will see Orion's Nebula, M42 in Charles Messier's catalog, M42, the Great Orion Nebula. Dark lanes of dust, bright gas glowing blue from the light of young stars, the nebula itself, hydrogen gas glowing with its own reddish colored light. And in the center, a group of four super hot, super young, super giant bright stars, the trapezium. Beautiful object, great example of a nebula, a place where stars are being born. How do we know? Because some of us are so old, we've actually watched it happen. Now, if you animal lovers, if you have a favorite animal, a large animal, its outline is something that you can probably see in dust against the brighter gas, hydrogen gas glowing behind it. This is a famous nebula named for an animal's head. Nearby, other beautiful formations. The sky is a wonder, and there's so much to learn about it. I suggest you get out, you get some references. I'll be showing some of those shortly. One of my favorite objects in the winter sky is next to Monoceros, one horn. Ceros, like rhinoceros, literally horn nose, like rhinovirus nose, rhinoceros. This one is monoceros, monoceros, or monoceros, the unicorn. And the unicorn snout is a beautiful nebula named for a flower. Can you guess it? I just gave this talk a few nights ago to another group, not What's Up, but we altered it a bit. And someone guessed, can you guess? Do we have any entries in chat? Someone guessed the Rosetta Nebula, and they were close. This is the Rosette. Something to look for in the winter sky. If I look high enough, I'll be looking back over my shoulder, back towards the north. I'll be looking upside down, and I will eventually find Cassiopeia, very high this time of year. I will have to crane my neck backwards. Facing south, I'd have to look backwards to get north this high. And now we've seen just about all of the bright and interesting features of the night sky. Let me do a time check. Let's see if we have time for a review. Yeah, we're coming up towards the end of my talk. I can come back to this. And so why don't I conclude with something you can find on thisday.com. I like to put in space, astronomy. I select my month and year. And I found out very significant. This is the most important thing to remember. 5 years ago today, the first pizza party in space. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Astronomers, professional astronomers might not think so. I think like on launch, it is on the way to the moon in a looping mission. And I found these really cool on Wikipedia, these really cool animations of the orbit fixed from Earth or from the viewpoint of the moon. The Artemis 1 mission is going to come close to the moon, loop around like this, catching up further away, further away, further away. But because of orbital mechanics, it will speed up and it will rendezvous with the moon twice, 3 times. Watch this. This is a really cool maneuver. How do we get back to Earth? We use the lunar gravity to hurl the spacecraft around in a loop. So check that out at Wikipedia. Look up Artemis 1, NASA's moon mission. Soon we'll have private enterprise going to the moon and beyond. But this is NASA's answer for reaching the moon and Mars. Question. Oh, okay. We come at a good break. I'm ready to put up my references. No trouble. We do have to deal with these sorts of things from time to time. Technology isn't perfect. Yep, ask patience for the audience. Well, luckily, we got through most of the important part.
James and or Paul, can you hear me? Or Janice? Jan, can you hear me? Just like raise your hand or smiley face. Oh no. Did I lose chat? Oh, okay. So, James, you're saying you can hear me. Perfect. Jan said she can hear me. Yay. All right. Sorry. Thank you for being patient, guys. Does it looks like things have leveled out a bit. So sorry about the interruption, but we figured we'd try and pause things while we uh, leveled out that network instability. It's like when you're on a plane, you have some turbulence.
It happens.
All right. So it looks like we're good to continue for the moment, and
All
I will
right, thank you.
back in if things get less than ideal again.
Well, a big thanks to Kim, Chris, Jeff, and the whole team, because there are many, many moving parts to this. So I've got up here some references for you. I know you've all been diligently taking notes. Some of you even know what pen and paper are, so you can do it that way or using technology. But if you forget everything I've said today, try uacnij.org. UACNIJ, UACNJ, United Astronomy Clubs. I like these magazines that have been in print for many decades. They have online versions you can subscribe to. The free portions of their websites are tremendous. There's a lot of stuff that's just out there free. Stellarium and Celestia are terrific. They're free also. Stellarium simulates the sky from any place on Earth, any time in the past, present, future. Celestia from any place in the solar system. You can simulate a trip to any planet beyond our solar system, to other stars, and even out of the galaxy. Stellarium just hit version 1 after many years of version 0 point stuff. Now it's 1.0. And you can download it, you can run it on a site, you can run it as an app on any mobile device. Same with Celestia. Meteor showers. If you forget, and you want to learn more about meteor showers, Go-Astronomy does have a lot of information, and they do. I like their information about meteor showers as well as everything else. So I will remind you about what's up in the December sky. 2 moon phases. Worst time to see faint objects is early in the month. The end of the month, the new moon close to Christmas. Mars at opposition means it's at its brightest. Mars and Earth on the same side of the sun. Mercury during the solstice, the shortest day of the year when the sun is low in the sky. Mercury is furthest from the sun temporarily, moving very quickly. So if you want to see it in a telescope or binoculars, good time is the 21st. And the meteor shower that you don't want to miss is the Geminids. December 13th is the peak. Fear not if you miss it. Try before or after, not too long before or after. And there is a simulation of what you won't see. You won't see many meteors all at once coming out from Gemini. But go and try. If you forget everything else I've said besides uacnij.org, try space.com. I do not work for space.com. This is not an endorsement. I just use it for reference. You can find my interactive book that lets you play with 3-dimensional planets at astronomyinmotion.com. The book is in every online bookstore, easy to find. And I just completed my Android app for the latest virtual reality planet Mars at your fingertips. The full version is 4K and it's cheap, but there's a great HD version that's free, absolutely free, with limited videos, with my wife's hand pointing out objects, and my wife's videos, short, snappy, fun videos that tell you all of Mars' principal features and some of the crash and landing sites. In the full version, I have all 28 landing sites, including next year's, the Rosalind Franklin, that hasn't happened yet. This is how you can reach me, my email, or you just go to astronomyinmotion.com or Mars at Your Fingertips, which is also the name of the app, Mars at Your Fingertips. Now that's an Android app. I am now working on an iOS app for iPad and iPhone users. And that should be available next year. But you've been a very good audience. Normally we show this slide, at the end of our live presentations. You can find us, as Kim will remind you, on Discord and YouTube and Patreon, on the web, UACNIDGE, on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We're everywhere. We're not hard to find. And you won't have to use your headlights tonight because we're virtual. So with
If you
that,
are driving, please use your headlights.
yes, thank you,
Headlights are
Kim.
good at night, or really
So
if the weather's bad. If you wipers on, lights on.
yes, yes, absolutely. So I want to say thanks for being such a patient audience when we have technical difficulties and otherwise. That concludes my portion of that. I can always review the sky. And while we're waiting for questions, I'll show you an animation
Oh,
of Mars seen from, I think you can see this, seen from its moon Phobos over the course of one Phobos month, but sped up 1,000 times. Phobos goes around Mars so fast that 1 month lasts 7 hours and 39 minutes. If you're on Mars, you'll see Phobos circle around several times a day. And so these are real features, real 3D models, real lighting, real features, the way it might actually see it if you could float above the surface of Phobos, the moon of Mars. You can find on my website, you can find 3D models like this in my book, At Mars at Your Fingertips. This is one of my latest. It's a 3D asteroid Bennu with surface features mapped. You can work it with your fingers, with a joystick, with any pointing device. And that's the sort of fun that you can have in my book, Space History Mystery Solved. So that's the end of my shameless self-promotion. Thought you might like to see asteroid Cleopatra. This is not a joke. This is a real asteroid. There are many bodies in the outer solar system that slowly fuse together under gravity. And these two objects eventually form something that looks like something that my dog might enjoy.
looks
It
like a
really,
femur.
yeah, it really looks like this. Could be a bone, could be a dog bone.
Space
That's Cleopatra.
dinosaurs.
So with that, I'll leave share up in case people have questions about what's up in the current sky. Thank you very much. You've been a great audience. Thanks to the team, Kim, Chris, Jeff, and everyone else at UAC and JTIP for making this possible.
All right. Thank you, Lonnie, as always. So, we do have a lot of questions. Chat was very active. It pleased me greatly. So, we're going to start off with the first one that I saw. At what point does an asteroid become a meteoroid, or are they two very different things?
Oh, that's a very good question. There's really very little distinction. It's mostly size. A small piece of debris coming off an asteroid might be called a meteoroid, or a large meteor could be thought of as an asteroid coming and landing on the Earth as a meteorite. So it's really a matter of a size distinction. Asteroids we usually reserve for bodies with permanent orbits that can come close to the Earth or not. Most of them do not. The ones that come close to Earth we're keeping an eye on. We call them NEOs, N-E-O. Can you guess what that stands for?
Near Earth objects.
Right. Good question.
All right. So, the next question is you like to joke that you were around into the time of the dinosaurs. Which one is your favorite?
Oh, yeah, my favorite dinosaur is one that I've written about in a science fiction novel where an alien from a planet where dinosaurs survived, some of them, brings her pet Deinonychus. Deinonychus and Velociraptor are similar, quite possibly the same genus. They were called the wolf of the Cretaceous because they probably hunted in packs and they were quite lethal. They worked like modern wolves do together. Small size, not quite human sized, but pretty dangerous to larger dinosaurs. Deinonychus, look it up. It means terrible claw, literally.
Yeah, mine's Velociraptor. So, the next one is James actually pointed out that the Stellarium shortcut to remove the ground is G, which is
Oh,
actually oddly easy, very, very easy to remember. G for ground.
there it is. G, ground off, ground on. Thank you very much. And if that's James DePietro, there is a
Yes.
James DePietro. He actually, I want to credit him. He provided this landscape, panoramic landscape of the actual features at Jenny Jump at UACNJ. So thank you, James.
Right. Someone had asked, and we had actually answered it in chat, but I want to go over it again. Can vote? Can folks visit Jenny Jump to take advantage of our dark skies any evening? So the answer is we are open April through October on Saturdays for the general public, at which point we do invite you to come up to our site. Other than that, if you want to take advantage, you would need to be a member of one of our member clubs, and we have a whole list on our website. And we also have a page on our website for how to become an observer through us, at which point you would be able to take advantage year round of our facilities with the proper training. And of course, we do ask for, because we are a volunteer organization, part of it is helping us out every year with our on site public programs. So the next question is actually, and I wanted to ask this because I wanted to make a come to the dark side. We have cookies joke. What is your favorite cookie?
My favorite cookie. Oh, that's interesting. Probably chocolate chip. Well, one time I brought cookies to a star party to watch Halley's Comet. Now, you know, Halley's Comet came back a long time ago, and it's got a 76-year path. So the next time around, I'll be pretty old. But I did bring some cookies. It was the end of March and or end of April, somewhere around there. And it was 13 degrees that morning when we all assembled on a street, a suburban street, and I shared the cookies. I should have brought hot chocolate, but I would have to say chocolate chip, oatmeal raisin, you know what? Almost anything. I love cookies.
I honestly put the whole. I'm a fan of anything that's free.
Oh, you know what I really like? I really like Boston Market chocolate chip because they're this big. They're gigantic, and the chocolate, there's so much chocolate, it looks like somebody just shot a bunch of chocolate into it.
Yeah,
Has nothing to do with stars.
Paul had mentioned that if you are local and you are looking, you should join us because occasionally there were cookies. That's why that question got brought up. Anyhow, the next question is are there any uncommonly photographed deep sky objects out there that astrophotographers should be looking to get data on this month? I know James had gone over a couple options here, and but let's ask you first, and then I'll go over a couple of those options James provided us.
So I am not expert at all of the many, many deep sky objects there are. There's a challenge that many of our amateurs have accepted, and that is to find all of Messier's objects in his catalog in one night. It can be done. It's very difficult. You have to stay up all night. And there's 104 of those, but there are thousands of objects. There's other catalogs. Um, Ones that we might want to study are peculiar galaxies. There are some unusual objects, quasars, but that gets into a realm more suited to advanced amateurs and professionals. So I really wouldn't know a lot about that.
Yeah, so it looks like James says he's working on photographing C7 and C23, and I have no idea what those are, but apparently they are both galaxies that are able to be shown in Stellarium.
C7.
So while you're probably looking at that, Jan and I actually had guesses as to what the small triangle you were referring to was, and her guess was summer triangle, and I said since it's winter, I was going to say the winter triangle.
Yeah,
So
actually, the name is Triangulum, Latin.
at
So
least we
that's
both got
close enough.
triangle.
Close enough. Winter triangle. Here's C7. And shall we find C6? Way over there. Where is C6? It's in Oh, the Cat's Eye Nebula. Wow. Beautiful. Yeah, this is very peculiar. This is looks like a star that's puffed out its outer atmosphere and made a planetary nebula, but a very unusual type. The Snail Nebula, the Sunflower Nebula, the Cat's Eye. In small telescope, it looks like the eye of a cat. And often in the photographs that they have in Stellarium, it may not look like the name because to small telescopes, to the vast majority of amateur astronomers, it will look more like that. A good example is the Shoe Buckle Nebula. You can sort of see it in Stellarium, but not really. I'm sorry, I cut you off, Kim.
Yeah, it was C7 and C23.
Oh, C23. Well, let's find it. So you got a lot of controls in Stellarium. C23, enter, and I like the way it zooms to Pegasus. Yeah, yeah. Oh, this is a nearly this is a nearly the silver galaxy, nearly edge on. This is what our Milky Way would look like edge on. Dark dust running right down the middle in front of the gas glowing. Beautiful. Now you see how tiny these things are? When I zoom out, this is a 2.5 degree field of view, such as you might find in a finder telescope, usually more like that. But look, human eye, 45 degrees or more, and we can see not sharply, but out to the edges of vision to like 160. So if I set the sky to 43 degrees, that's about where our sharpest vision is. You don't even see the galaxy. It's too small. The Andromeda galaxy, yes, because it's several times the width of the full moon. But most galaxies so far away, you do need telescopic aid.
All right.
Good question.
Paul had asked, what type of nebula is the Orion Nebula?
The Orion Nebula has a combination of things going on. Let's zoom in. So we've got hydrogen gas. We have dust with reflected starlight from the bluish stars. This is, I'm not sure the technical term, um, an irregularly shaped just nebula, I would think. Any suggestions from the audience? It's not a planetary nebula. That's an effect formed by an explosion off of the star's atmosphere. When a star ages, it runs out of fuel, it puffs off its outer atmosphere, forming a globe, which looks like a ring because we look through the center of the globe. But this is typical of many nebulae, plural of nebula. And the dark lanes you see here are not dust. Those are trees. I'm using the scientific term, trees.
Yeah, I have no clue. I'm still a beginner
Oh
myself.
yeah, I'm sorry. That's an emission nebula, and the Horsehead is a dark nebula, dust. So when the light is emitted by the gas, that's emission. Reflection is when the light is bouncing off from the star off of the dust and gas. So that's gas lighting up. That's reflection nebula. This is an emission nebula. Same thing for Orion, famous emission. One of the most famous of all nebulae. Let's go back a little bit in time so we can see it out of the trees. There we go. Still in the trees. That's annoying. Yeah.
Because
Now, what happens if let's pick the same time. I just want to show everybody what happens next month when we do what's up in the January sky. This is the middle of December at 19, let's say 20 hours. 20 hours minus 12 is, everybody? 8 o'clock, right? So if I'm facing south, very good, Kim. If I'm facing south and I go out the same time, the same time every night, just like this, in January. Wait, what's happening? In February. In February, the middle of February, Orion is due south at 8 o'clock. What happened? The Earth is revolving around the sun. We're looking in a different direction, different times of the year. That's why I say there's a main sign for every season. Orion in winter, the lion comes in, well, spring comes in like a lion, Leo. In the spring, summer, we have a scorpion and an archer, Sagittarius. And in the fall, we have the lion. And you can use those four constellations, the hunter, the lion, the scorpion, and the lion. Gee, I said that twice. The hunter, the lion, the scorpion, and the great square, the horse in fall, to find your way around the sky, to star hop. Come on back next month. We'll do it again. We'll star hop just as we did this month with Orion's belt, using one thing to find another. Down the other way, you'll see the dog star and the small dog star. And this everyone, you agree with me, this looks just like a little dog, right? No? I don't hear a clamor from the audience.
All right, we have another question, and let's see if it devolves into the mishmash of Monty Python skits that it did in chat. Uh, James asked uh, a question for you. What is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow?
African or European?
That
That's a,
was the answer Paul gave. Jeff
yeah,
went
you have
completely
to,
different skit and asking if it floats or not.
when you when you
James
ask a
didn't know, and I
question,
launched him into the atmosphere.
yeah, when you ask an astronomer a question, be careful to be specific. Actually, some swallows can travel very quickly. I know falcons can reach something like 100 miles an hour, close to that. Or no, I think they can exceed it. It's incredible.
But anyhow, last call for any last minute questions. So while people might be typing, once again, I want to thank everyone who joined us here for our online only winter program. Again, do check us out on our website uacnj.org and our socials: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We got the Discord channel available. Do think about donating, whether through our webpage or Patreon. Uh, every donation does go to help keep lights on, uh, upkeep the grounds and everything, and helps us to offer free public programs as well as outreach. Uh, another thing to note: thank you, Lonnie, for giving us another wonderful talk today. It looks like we are pretty much done with questions. So again, thank you all. And until next time, you guys have a good night.